my friends, and welcome. Hi, it's John Petersen from the Arlington Institute, and nice to have you here on a PostScript interview. Today, we get a wonderful chance to talk to Edd Edwards, who is a really interesting guy who is going to be with us at Transition Talks on the 14th of October. And Edd, how are you? Nice to see you.
Doing good. How y'all doing there?
Yeah, we're all well. It's been a pretty summer day here in Berkeley Springs,
Yes, it
West
is.
Virginia. I'd like maybe you could tell our viewers a little bit about your background so that we bring everybody up to speed, and then we can start to talk about all kinds of interesting things.
Sure. Okay. Well, I grew up in the rural country of Northeast Georgia. I had my grandparents kind of raised me, and my grandmother was had 30% of Cherokee in her. And so as I grew up out there in the country, she did a form of hands-on healing based on the Cherokee lineage. And we also run Edwards Studio photography printing shop. My grandparents did. My grandfather also helped start the Foxfire books from the mountains. And so we grew up there in the rural country and everything. And when I was born, I was like a problem birth. I would have had an older sister, but she died at birth and a couple of years before I come along. But my grandma did this energy healing stuff, and she did it on me constantly for 3 years, for the first 3 years of my life. And it would just make me tingle all over when she would do it to me, and it made me feel really good and stuff. So I grew up like that. But by the time I was 3 years old, I was able to turn it on and interact back with my grandmother in a form of patty cake and stuff, playing with her hands, but our hands would get magnetic and hot when we get them close together, and just little things like that. And then as I come along up in life, I thought everybody had these abilities like I've got and stuff. And so my grandmother just kept reinforcing it in me. And all, but by the time we got in the second or third grade, the other kids that did have energies and playing with them, they quit. They stopped. They got it beat out of them, more or less from religion and different ways of education and stuff like that. And so they all stopped, but my grandmother kept reinforcing it. She kept telling me, Eddie, you got something that's real. Don't let them tell you you're imagining stuff. You've got something. And she kept working with me and working with me. And so as I grew up in their studio. And as I became an early teenager and stuff like that, I could be around in the studio, and Grandma would do her hands-on healing in the back of it. And if I was in the dark room loading film or anything, it would produce images in the processed film. We used 4x5 speed graphic camera back in them days. And so I had all kind of little neat things happen to me as a kid. And I was a very, very mischievous kid, because once I learned how to play with this energy and manipulate this energy, like, Grandma did it for healing, but I did things to be just a little bratty, mischievous kid. And those actions that I did caused my brain to, according to the scientists that study me now, caused my brain to wire up differently than it did with the other children growing up in the country. So I grew up with the special abilities, and then I had a couple of friends that knew what I was doing, so they were all the time daring me to do stuff with the energy, and all kind of like mischievous pranks and stuff, and learned how to do some really fun stuff there, and
Like what? Like what?
okay, like going into church and I learned how to reverse the electrical polarity of this field of energy. And by doing so, I learned how to produce what I term electrical gravity waves, where I can push and pull people off balance. That's something I'm going to be demonstrating a bunch of as we go forwards. That's all in mentally controlling the electrical aspects of this energy and all. And then when I got in church, though, I don't know why I did it, but I was about 6.5, 7 years old, and I was sitting up in the balcony with some of my other friends, and the preacher at 11:30 always had prayer and then silent prayer. But this one Sunday, I don't know why, it's like my intuition was just nudging me and nudging me to be just mischievous as could be. And so when the preacher started praying, which he always did for 4 or 5 minutes, I don't know why, but I turned on this energy and started pulling backwards on everybody downstairs. I could set it up in a way that I could see people kind of move and shift and stuff, and I can feel it. It sets up a magnetic sensation in my body when I do it. So the preacher did his praying, and then he went into silent prayer. Now, I didn't know what was going on, but my intuition just said, let go. And I did. I just let go of the energy, let it go to neutral. And my intuition said, reverse the polarity, push and squeeze as hard as you can. So I did. I pushed. I squeezed on the energy. I can feel like I'm pressuring up a magnetic balloon right here. And when I did and was focusing it on the people downstairs, several different ones of them started farting. It made them expel gas in there. And so I said, wow, did I do that? My friend says, wow, well, let's try it next Sunday. I tried it again next Sunday during silent prayer. Sure enough, I could get them to rattle them off there. And so I practiced that for 7 years very religiously in our Southern Baptist church. You know, I got so good after about 5 years there, if I pushed really hard on it, I could make 2 or 3 of them get up and walk like ducks out of there. And it was fun, just little kid stuff. And then I come from that little country town. They filmed the movie Deliverance in. And it had a lot of bullies, a lot of little rednecks and stuff. And they always liked to pick on me. And I would get scared and terrified every time I see them coming until this one day I was in about the 3rd grade, and here come 4 of them at me, and I knew they was just coming to pick on me. They got within about 10, 15 feet of me there, and I felt this electric shock go through me, and I was just like running electricity like crazy. And all of a sudden, when they got closer, they started screaming and hollering, and I looked, and they were peeing all over themselves. Somehow the electrical field I generated caused their bladders to release. That's a natural self-defense mechanism us humans have. If we get threatened there, we can turn on an electric field and make those around us doing the threatening have a serious go to the bathroom mode.
Yeah.
The human body's electric system's got all kind of powers that once you activate them, you can do all kind of neat things, or for self-preservation or self-defense. I got all kind of neat things.
You're dangerous.
Yeah. And so I did this and grew up there and stuff. And then I was still mischievous. And then by the time I was like 13 or 14 years old, when the girls started looking pretty, that time there when you're in high school or so, and them girls, you got the pretty ones there and they start looking pretty. And I don't know why, I was in the lunchroom one day and I looked at this one girl and oh my gosh, she just like, wow. And next thing I know, she walked across the lunchroom there and came over there and slapped the shit out of me. And oh my God, I know, what did I do? And they didn't know what I did, but boy, they felt like my hands was around them and stuff. And I got slapped a few times there looking at the pretty girls and stuff until one of my good friends said, Eddie, when you look at us like that and everything, and stuff, your eyes have got laser beams in them. And it just makes us feel like it just electrifies us wherever you're looking at. And it just freaked me out, some of that stuff, And I said, oh my God, I got to be careful. And so I learned to kind of be careful with it from there on.
When Penny Kelly was here, who is a mutual friend of ours, she said that there was a time when you used to be able to direct lightning and things for some of your friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I still play with that.
Tell us, what do you mean? How do you do? What do you do?
Well, I have to have a thunderhead over me already, just kind of bouncing a lightning bolt every 5 or 6 minutes. Well, I can pick a spot, or I like to do it when I got friends around. I can pick a spot, 100 yards or so away from me, like a dead tree or a telephone pole or something, and just focus this energy on it while that thunderhead's slowly floating over. And Dr. Levengood theorized when I was doing it, because he had set up some sensors once, and I could focus over across a distance and change the polarity of the ions around in an area. And he thought when I was focusing on those spots, I was in theory just like creating a giant lightning rod sticking up from right there, which was like negatively charged, and
Right.
everything else around it was positive charge. And the focus of my energy would just attract the lightning. It'd give it a route to go. And so I've given that demonstration. Like I said, I'm from the country, from the backwoods, and so you got to demonstrate some of them old boys to keep them from messing with you. And I gave that demonstration to a moonshine bootlegger and a snake handling Baptist preacher and a couple others around there, and I didn't have no more problems out of them after I did it a couple of times within 2 weeks.
Well, that's fascinating, and that's interesting. So now then, so then what happens? I mean, you've come a long way from then.
Oh yeah, well, I was back then, and then and I just kind of could never find out what to do with it or anything, and I was just laying low, and then all of a sudden I saw Dr. Levengood on with Dan Rather doing just a little 5-minute clip on that little device he uses called the charge density pulse recorder that he was using to measure the electrical signals within the human body. He was still a physics professor at the University of Michigan when I met him, and he had developed that for the medical department to quantify electrical pain signals in people. The doctors were getting, tired of people coming in saying they were in a lot of pain and wanting drugs for their pain and stuff. And then the doctors weren't able to just totally understand if they were in pain or not. So Lefty's device there, when it was hooked up to them properly, would show special signals in it that would dictate pain or not pain. And then that give them a tool to be able to better judge the patients with, to know if they really were hurting or to what level they were hurting. And then it come to find out the equipment could be used to study all kinds of other things, electrical systems within the human body and the electrical systems in plants and living organic matter and all that. So Lefty did just tons of research with it. And I got in touch with him, told him I could do certain things. He was real skeptical, but he told me to come up to the lab. And when I got there, he had a couple of people in front of me, and then it got to be my time. And oh my God, I smoked that machine. The amount of electricity coming out of my hands, because I grew up with this stuff. Ever since birth, I've been playing with this energy. And I'm different than the normal people. And so the electricity I was generating was like 440,000 microamps that first go round through there. And the most he had ever seen before I'd stepped in that lab was 98,000 that had come out of some of the Dalai Lama's bunch or so, because they had some of them Tibetan monks in there measuring them and Tai Chi type masters, but he hadn't ever seen anything like I did. And then after that, he checked all the wires and everything, hooked me up again, and I nailed that thing even more. And so he stuck me in a study and studied me for 14 years. Not steady every day or anything, but I go a weekend a month over there, and we do all kinds of things at his lab. And then he wrote a couple of the peer-reviewed papers, one being the first one, Evidence for Charge Density Pulses Associated with Bioelectric Fields in Living Organisms. Yeah. So that's in the International Society of Subatomic Energy and Energy Medicine back in the 90s.
Well, you've done a whole lot of stuff since then, and you've got universities that are studying you now, and
yes,
Yale and so on.
UVA and
Yeah, the Monroe Institute. So
Hmm.
so what are they studying? So what are you doing? You're not they're not just moving lightning around for them.
No, and in fact, Ross called me last week, and we have a board meeting, and he said that somebody has loaned them a very expensive magnetometer. So I've got to be back up there before I come up here to your place at Monroe, and so we go into the copper wall array lab. And that lab studies the electrical fields around my body, or whoever's they're studying. It has two random number generators in there. Then the cosmic ray detector, neutrino detectors, and then with this magnetometer. And so we're just going to do studies. I've gone in the lab and run the instruments up over 5,000 volts
Mm.
in there on multiple times. It's just me turning this energy on, and it builds up in there, builds up like a static field around my body. It's the same stuff I used to take pain out of people with. And
Do you still do healing, right? Obviously.
yes, that's the way I do my whole living now, is making and taking pain out of people, and I can do large numbers at the same time. I don't really work one on one. I do one on ones on people, but it's better to get 500, 600 at a time or so in a room, in a Zoom room like this, and do them all at once. And you
And
got to remember,
you do that twice a week, right?
correct. I have two of them at Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. and Thursday at 8 p.m. And remember, I'm not the healer. I'm not healing anything. I can just generate up a huge amount of electrical energy. I can transmit that energy worldwide. They say it's going through the Higgs field, it's going through the quantum field, all kind of names for whatever is the pathway or the carrier of it. But I'm able to connect energy between me, source, and you, or everyone that is aware of my voice. Some lefty found out that I could do, or I'm doing, when I turn this energy on, I'm embedding some type of little 2 hertz signal in the audio of my voice that triggers people's brains to like lock in or sink in, resonate in with me or so. That's what they
Mm.
believe is going on. That's the triggering mechanism. That's why I can record videos and stuff and do the energy in the videos and talk. And then people in the future that watch the videos or listen to the recordings and stuff, and they stand up and take part in the demonstration as though it's live, it'll push and pull them all over the place.
Mm.
So it's just a
Wow.
triggering mechanism.
So is this kind of a generalized thing that you produce, or can you see, for instance, inside someone's body and focus this on a
I
certain organ or something?
I can I can look in toward people's bodies and concentrate the energy, but I've gotten so strong with it. Remember, your bodies are the healing mechanisms. I'm just generating up the power to cause your systems to start functioning. They say with the biophotons that I'm emitting when I do it, that's probably sending just these root commands: start functioning, start functioning, start functioning. Just little pulses of light or so. And that cause your systems to start functioning and power them up. And they run so fast sometimes. I mean, I've had people where they were crying in pain and they go pain free in about 4 minutes. And they
Mm.
just, go from crying to just hugging it, laughing, enjoying it. And that's, in
Well,
person.
you kind of remind me a little bit about of Ingo Swann, who used to be a good friend of mine.
Hmm.
Ingo, as you almost certainly know, was the first guy who was involved in the remote viewing program, and in fact named the 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 process remote viewing. But Ingo, famously, Hal Puthoff tells the story about how they had him come out to Stanford, where he was at SRI, and that deep down in a highly sealed and screened and space underground, they had a sensor that was sensing, I don't remember, cosmic rays or some other kind of things. And it
Hmm.
was designed so that nothing from the outside would affect it other than when a cosmic ray comes down through there. And Ingo could visualize that and affect it. He could point, do energy to the thing, and it got him all
Hmm.
excited because, I mean, sounds
Yeah.
kind of like a little.
It is because I'll be inside the copper wall array and Ross will be off in the instrument room and he'll say, "Don't do nothing. Let's get a baseline." And I'll do all I can and get and hold it level and get the baseline. And then he says, "All right, start." And when I start, he starts seeing deviations in the random number generators. The cosmic ray detector will go from a few hundred into several thousand. The magnetometer starts going all over the place and everything. The every instrument in there just about shows some type of
Right.
results, and then he tells me to turn it off and flatline it, and everything goes back to normal. You
Yeah, but
know,
it sounds like it's just kind of a general broadcast
yeah,
signal rather than necessarily focused on one thing
yeah. I
or
don't have
another.
to focus on anything. I just get the attention of the target and turn the juice up. That's the neat
And
thing
so,
about it.
you can generate an environment so people can get healed from sometimes problems that they've had for years and years.
Yes, yeah, and
Uh,
we don't have to know what they are.
right. And how else can you use it?
It works good on the gardens. I can make plants grow like crazy
Hmm.
and stuff like that.
i-
I can
Is there any
super
way to
enhance.
package this? Can we put it into a package and
Well,
sell
we're gonna look
pieces
at
of it?
we're gonna look at that up there. You got a lot of
Oh,
land we
okay.
got to do something with.
I know, I know. Ed's, for those of you who are watching, Ed is planning on moving up here to Berkeley Springs, and that's what he's talking about. We're going to have a good time with him and
Hmm.
our little West Virginia community. Um, so how do you think? What do you think is going on here? I mean, let's talk about what this is that you do. How do you think this works? What is it?
I believe this is something everybody should have been doing. I believe they were doing it centuries ago. And in my research and everything, trying to figure out why it is I've got it and others don't and everything, everything is boiling back to around the 1400s with the Roman Catholics there taking power over all the people and learning that they needed to strip these abilities from the people so they could have power over the people. And so everything I'm finding so far is the deliberate destruction of the human race by a small entity bunch within it and stuff, those that
Hmm.
want to have power over everybody. And what I'm doing is just basically reawoken all our natural born abilities. I mean, we got this brain up here. It is designed to build to do all kinds of things, but everybody runs around and only uses less than 10% of it their whole lives and everything, or somewhere around 12, it could be. And so, another thing, like in Ross's research on me, he determined in our pilot study back in 2015 to 2017 that my brain, when I turn all this power on and everything, my brain is simultaneously PKing at all levels of consciousness. So part of my brain's in alpha, another part's in beta, another's in theta, another's in delta, all at the same time. And that process is what he believes is allowing me to transmit and create this other measurable energy that's so effective on causing people's bodies to go pain-free and stuff.
Hmm.
And so that's what's going on. So what I'm trying to do is wake people up and let them understand that, you can be on multiple levels of consciousness simultaneously, and then you are doing stuff. And everybody just
Uh,
develops their
you
own
know, Jo-
thing.
Dr. Joe Dispenza wires people up when he takes them through his kind of process, which is variation of kind of the Neville Goddard kind of approach to kind
Mm.
of manifesting things. But when he puts all of the gear on their head, like you have had many times, that he sees this broad, in some cases, this very broad spectrum kind of explosion that you know
Hmm.
most of science didn't think was possible until recently.
Yeah, and when mine explodes like that, I affect sensors 8 floors up, 6 floors down, and halfway across the university, and they got me locked down in a $400,000 Faraday cage. And I get signals
Wow.
clean out of that cage and affect their instruments under command.
Well, then it's not electromagnetic. So what do you think it is?
Ross says it's PK, psychokinesis.
So what does that mean?
I'm letting them decide all that. I don't know. I can crank up a lot of electricity and have it come out of me at this point and materialize there at your point or wherever else.
Well, I understand, but if they've got you in a Faraday case, then you're not sending electricity outside
I
of that.
I know.
You're operating at a different kind of dimension or a different frequency
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
that's what they're trying to understand. That's why all we do in all these different studies. Like it's trying to get a grip on what it is I'm doing that I'm able to affect the instruments under command from inside containment areas. Or he'll send me a Skype link and I'll be wherever I'm at down here in the country and we'll do a run and the computer tells me to focus or not focus. And when it tells me to focus, I get highly significant results on affecting the instruments that are inside the Faraday cage there in his lab and me 300 or 400 miles away. And
Yeah.
I get the same
Well,
results.
that's not electricity as we understand it then. I mean, so clearly this is something operating at a subtle energy or
Hmm.
other frequency or scalar or something else.
Yeah,
It's
Scalar is one of the topics. That's Charlie Plyler that had the group called LFRAD, Extremely Low Frequency Research and Development. I did stuff with him back in around 1998 to 2004 or 5, and his instruments that he used to detect earthquakes, I could trigger them under command from any distance and trigger his other instruments that were tied in that were in Sweden and New Zealand and all over the planet. He had a group or network of people, and I could affect them all at the same instant in time. And so it was even though they don't know what exactly it is, it's just
yeah.
it was measurable, you know.
So Ed, is this just kind of a broadcasting and an outgoing kind of thing, or are you intuitive or sensitive or uh,
I'm
any?
yeah. There's information being transmitted at me from some source and I'm able to act on it. It's like it embeds it into my intuition. Then I start getting a knowing, and then I start getting a desire to investigate something just out of the blue. And so
Yeah.
I'm getting signals of some kind. And when I follow on them and everything, after different base amounts of times, I learn things I would have
Yeah.
never even thought about learning about.
Do you have
And
any idea where that information's coming from? What do you think?
I think it's coming out of the universe like some great massive library record or so. But I did have a little bit of an alien encounter when I was 6 years old.
I was gonna ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a
Tell
little
us.
encounter and a little face to face with four of them, and I didn't know they was aliens. I never heard what aliens were back then. I thought they were just some of the
What,
other mountain
when was it? When was
19,
this?
1964,
How old were you then?
6 years old.
Oh, I see. So you're a kid. Yeah.
I was just a kid, but these boys, they were in the back of a car lot. I thought it was a car lot, and I thought their funny looking car, which was pulsating orange. I just thought it was another A model or something back in there. Didn't know any better, and I went over to play in the cars because mom and dad were next door at the little restaurant of the people they went to school with. And so we went there once a week, and I always got to go out there and play in the cars while they, sat in there and chatted with them. And it just happened one night. And so I come around the corner, and these four boys standing there, a little taller than me, and they looked real weird. But I was already friends with Billy Redden that played the dueling banjos in Deliverance, and he didn't have no eyelashes or anything back then. He looked real weird when we were in preschool and stuff like that. So, and I come to find out later that they were Billy and the rest of these other, lot of them around there were inbred. That goes on in the
Mm,
Appalachian Mountains back in the woods. But
yeah.
I just figured these are just more of his family or something until I started seeing all these images in my brain, and I could hear them in my brain, but their mouths weren't moving. And then they showed me how to change the polarity really to shift this energy back and forth. They were playing with it with me from about 10 feet away and pulling me forwards and pushing me backwards. Then one of them came over beside me and helped me do it, but back against the other ones. And that's how I learned how to project it and change it. I guess create the electrical gravity waves the first time.
Wow.
And so I,
Wow.
I played with it like crazy after that. And, it was like about 2 weeks after that's when I learned to make them fart in church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so do they
So,
come back and talk to you and check
no,
in
but
every
I
month?
think I think that's where a lot of this information and knowledge is coming from, is something through them or so. It's
So
like I
what do you
knew,
think? Go ahead.
yeah, I don't know what to think about it. It's just that it's like I get a feel that this information is somewhat connected to something like this higher intelligent like them, but I have no scientific basis. I have no way to validate it or anything other than following my gut instinct.
So what do you think is the purpose for all of this, and why you now? And do you think it has any unique kind of aspect of the times
I think it
that we're
does.
living in?
I think so. It's nearly like I nearly feel like the Earth's living nature systems are like starting to scream out for attention, for help, for something. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I do things that are just absolutely blowing some of these scientists' minds. I can't, really go into detail
Well,
on them right
I
now, but
I
I do,
understand that. Yeah,
and
but I'm
I just,
trying to go ahead. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I mean, I have such phenomenal type of healings on people. There's no reason why I should be able to cause this person, after all these doctors have been working on them for years, to go instantly pain free and better. And I don't know what I did to them. All I did was lit them up real good.
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me like one kind of suggestion or one model might be is that there really is an all electric universe, and that
Yeah.
in fact that if you engage that, as you know, my degree is in electrical engineering. I'm never would call myself a working electrical engineer, but the education lingers on in there. And but if you are all electric, then that's all engineerable, if you will, and can be
Hmm.
influenced, and it can be influenced by other electricity and other, magnet. And you get all these kind of changes that get done all the time in terms of
Sure.
cameras. And, we're sitting here looking at cameras and video screens, and all of that is just manipulating and moving electrical energy around one way or another. And it just sounds to me like that's kind of what's going on here a little bit. There's certainly in the local area.
Yeah. I mean, it's all electrical. It's all connected somehow between the electricity and the magnetism of it. There's a force out there, an unseen force that's
Yeah.
interacting with us.
So why
And
now? Do you have any sense of the timeliness of all of this, or what's kind of your role in this transition, this new world
I
that's emerging? And
I feel like I've got a huge role, but I don't know what it is exactly right now. I'm connected in with a lot of stuff, You know, I have knowledge base on all kinds of things that has to do with life, as it would be on the planet, and where I believe the planet should be. I agree, like with you, we should be at a much higher level of being right now, but we've been suppressed because things like my abilities that everyone else should have had in them got removed from them, conditioned out of them. If everybody had been doing what I've been doing up in this whole time, we would be living a much different way of life on this planet, a much more spiritual way, you know, be a much more
Well,
connected. Hmm.
yeah, and I would agree with you, and I would kind of argue that during this kind of transition to this, let's call it an evolutionary jump or something, this large scale, very complex system state change, essentially what is happening
Hmm.
is that what you and people like Penny Kelly and any number of other folks who have these unusual capabilities are the kind of early indicators, the weak signals that popping up that are showing the direction of where this is all going, and that if it works in a kind of a classic state change in complex systems, that there will be more people like you that will
Hmm.
either gravitate to you or learn from you, and that there will be a group over somewhere else that'll do the similar things. And so
Sure.
you've got, uh, you know, in one sense, it's a function of awareness, and that the internet and the kind of modern communications that we have allow us to be aware of things that we otherwise would be aware of. But on the other hand, there really do seem to be anomalous folks like
Hmm.
yourself that are starting to show up, that, at the right time, I guess you could suggest,
Yeah,
or
it's like
posit.
something was programmed into the timing of the evolution of man with this. Now, I do a thing on Sunday evenings called Awakening the Children. So it's a Zoom room where I take parents with their children that are, 4 or 5 years of age up to their 20s, and we play with energy for 30 or 45 minutes and stuff. So I'm awakening these kids to how to become very interactive with the energy and do like I was. And my number one rule in the room is be mischievous. Play with the
Mm.
energy in a mischievous way. And they are. And I'm getting all kind of fun reports each week from them.
Well, well, now I would suggest that what you're telling them to do and asking them to do is engage in an emotional way rather than just an intellectual way. So that's
Yeah.
something that they can feel, and that goes back to guys like Neville Goddard, who say emotions are at the center of all of this, and so on. Can you
Hmm.
teach people how to do what you do?
I can teach children.
Mm,
The children are so easy to teach and everything. Adults, I can teach them to do things, but it's like a matter of tearing down blockades or so
yeah,
of understanding and
sure.
stuff that was designed into them that just isn't right, you know? And I've just got to tear down their way of
Sure.
thinking and get them to understanding how energy and the universe and the brain interact, you know?
Mm,
And I'm able to get some doing things, different ones will be at
yeah.
different levels. It's like the more you practice
So
it.
and what can they do? Is it just a matter of kind of generating local energy and kind of
Yeah,
affecting things, or is it more?
once
Can
they
they
start
bend
generating.
spoons or something? What can they do?
No, once they get to doing my stuff, they can start generating electrical energy. And then when they get hurt or in sickness or in pain, they can focus it back in and use their hands to be the
Ah,
applications. It's like one hand's polarized one way, the other hand's the other. So you just put it over the damaged area in the body and then turn the energy on. And then all of a sudden your hands get hot and the area that's hurting quits hurting and the pain goes away, or the sickness goes away,
ah,
or the sore throat goes away, or the stuffed up head goes away. I teach techniques of how to move energy out of the left hand there to cause the sinus cavities to just clear right out, which also works good for people that have balancing problems, vertigo, things like that. So it's just kind of unlimited. And then again, I'm not the one doing the healing. I'm just causing their systems to start functioning.
So what do folks like at Yale or at University of Virginia and other things? What are they trying to measure or evaluate or determine about you?
They're just trying to find out what the whole human potential I've got can be. Trying to find out, like Ross is there at UVA, which he runs the UVA and Monroe studies on me. And he's just trying to find and learn about how I'm able to generate this energy and crank it up. Now, the upcoming Yale study will be me applying the energy with doctors on their patients, studying the
Ah,
patients, increased healing times. How much faster what I'm able to do will increase the healing of the patients that are under the doctor's cares. And then they'll be doing a lot of studies on that to find out what goes on in that direction.
is this like recovery from surgery kind of things, or is it?
Yeah, everything across the board. You
Uh,
know, I can get a hold of people that's had surgery and make them go pain free in just a few minutes. And they have it, just
well,
yesterday.
that's the kind of that's you're going to do a lot of that kind of stuff in Berkeley Springs and 14th
Mm-hmm.
of October when you come. So it'll be a lot of fun. And for people who can't make it to Berkeley Springs, this is live stream it, and like you say, you can affect these folks from a distance through the.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
everything
that's
there.
what you do every Sunday and Tuesday and Thursday night, after
Mm-hmm.
all.
When I get up there and get settled in good, we're going to do all kind of fun things like this.
Yeah,
Might have
well,
to
that's
do it
good.
every day. Who knows?
Well, we need to figure out how to do it with the garden because
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced that it's going to be very important to be able to have an independent source of food
Oh yeah.
in the coming years because of the change and things that are coming downstream. And so this ability to, if you will, and I know everybody doesn't get a chance to have you come and hang around, which is what we feel very blessed to be
Mhm.
able to do that. But to have someone like you within a community that
Yeah.
can help people heal themselves and you don't need all the external
Mm-mm. Yeah, we can just
infrastructure is really important in terms of the kind of resilience and independence that are certainly going to be needed in the coming years when things are all under changing and
sure. Yeah, we just need to set up a studio and we can have either straight on or we can set up a regular program and it's allowed to everybody all over the planet, at the same time.
well,
More the merrier.
that's interesting because that doesn't make any difference then if it's just local because you can project it
Hmm.
and make it available more broadly. So there's a lot of wonderful things that we can do.
Yes.
Hey, Ed, can you give us a demonstration of this?
Sure, sure. And like I say, it'll record right into this here audio and video. So while I'm standing up, everybody out there in the future, stand up while we do this, and you'll feel it. All right, everybody out there, just stand up. All right, I'm going to just start doing the energy. I don't want to give you no power suggestion. Just stand very still. That's it. Just stand very still right there. All right, so I'm sending out this energy and reversing the polarity every few seconds. So see what you feel, like in your fingertips. Also pay attention to your balance. All right, so I'm just rocking you back and forth right here, all by transmitting this energy, and there's a signal embedded in my voice here. It's allowing you to lock in really good. All right, so now I'm going to push everybody backwards. So I'm setting up a field of energy that should give you a little bit of a push backwards. All right, and letting off. Now I'm going to reverse the polarity and pull forwards on everybody. So this should be starting a forward pull there to it. All right, very good. So that's what happens when I do my energy sessions to cause people's healing systems start working. I just work them back and forth a little bit and then set them down and turn that charge on up. So there's a quick little demonstration for you. Just go back and watch this over and over and see how it affects you. All right.
Great. Great. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We'll do a lot more of that here when you get back on the 14th of October.
Sounds good.
Ed, so where do you think this is all going? Let's talk to me a little bit about, I mean, you're a thoughtful guy, and you certainly have been access a whole lot of information from a lot of different sources, including a lot of kind of conventional sources. What's happening in the world right now, and where do you think this is all going?
Well, I'm a guy that just sits around in my man cave here and watch a lot of different scopes. Let me just aim a camera and you can get a little better idea. So I've got 8 monitors in here. And so I'm all the time studying energy coming out of the sun because that plays with this energy that we are. Dr. Levengood and all learned when he was doing the studies on me, as we go towards solar maximum, my energy increases.
Yeah, the remote viewers found that to be that there were different times of the year and the month and the day and so on when they were more effective than other times.
Yeah, we found out that when we're having a lot of flare activity on the sun, I can like latch onto that energy and do even stronger things. It's like it's like I'm able to use that like a booster.
Wow.
And Lefty was all the time checking, the solar data when we were doing experiments in his lab, plotting that data plus humidity, temperatures, and all that other stuff in every lab run that we were doing. It all
Yeah, you're
includes
talking about Dr. William Levengood, who
yes,
was a biologist, I believe, and
biophysics.
biophysics, and kind of his claim to fame, among other things, is that he figured out how crop circles, the whole crop circle phenomenon, how that works and how they get made and what literally happens in the crop when they are.
Yeah, he wrote several papers on it.
Yeah, when they are generated, and you spent a lot of time with him. So tell me again. So where are we going? What is this all about? What's the big picture?
We're gonna wake up as many humans as possible. We're gonna bring them into this new transition. We don't have to be all in one place.
Where's it going? And
I believe we'll
what's
evolve.
gonna happen?
We're going to evolve. Those that are going to evolve here. They're going to wake up, start using all these higher brain functions, and kind of come together as a world order effect here. We're going to, pull our resources together because we can be a very advanced civilization. We don't have to remain in this primitive civilization we're in right now. Now, I believe in our lifetimes, we're going to see the threshold of the new civilization on our doorsteps here.
So would you call that an evolutionary jump, if you kind of to generalize?
I would say so, yeah. If we can get this energy just right and just snap everybody up to go from one level of consciousness into all levels of consciousness just all of a sudden, then I believe we can bring a whole new evolutionary level into the play here.
So what you would get out of the back end of that would be what we would call a new human, right? With
Correct.
different
Be
kind.
like a new human. Let's stop aging. Let's turn these energies on, self-program, do our own epigenetic reprogramming, increase our lifespan by hundreds and hundreds of years, learn how to crank these multi-levels of consciousness up so that when we do have to put this body down, we're able to transfer to the next body. You know, I believe that
Absolutely.
I've been around a lot of times and I have access to it through these energetic abilities.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, they tell me that that's what's happened to me too. So
mm-hmm,
we'll we'll have a good time when you come up here. That's for
that's
sure.
right. We're going to light them up good.
Yeah. So what else would you like to talk about here?
Well, just in general where we're headed here, you know.
Tell me more about that. Where do you think this is all
Well, I
happening?
see us
Do you
I
think?
see us putting together a center point that'll expand throughout the whole world there, where we can create our ways of growing food and healing and all these other aspects, but be able to be a shared system through other
Mm.
communities all over the planet that are ready to evolve, ready to get away from this old paradigm. And so I see us as being the center point or the starting point for the new evolution of man.
Wow. That would I've wanted for a long time to try to build a bit of a brand or
Mm-hmm.
an awareness about Berkeley Springs and our unique community here, and that would be a good thing to build it around. By the way, you remind me here about my friend Jeff Stegman and Clayton Stedman, who have a program, technology that they call Focused Life Force Energy, where
Mm-hmm.
they're able to transmit through a unique piece of technology, transmit energy in a directed way to a particular address or a particular device or whatever, like a cell phone somewhere, and that they can essentially modulate the energy, if you will, and with certain healing or
Yeah. It's
moderating kind of information, make your family work better together, or your business, or what other kind of things. And they're, they've been quite successful about all of that. You're going to have a chance to meet them when you get up
okay.
here. But this, what you're doing and what you do in some of your plans and ideas here, all seem to be part of this larger kind of emergent notion about how that there's a different level of or a different kind of aspect of this reality that we have suppressed
That's
for a
right.
long time, humanity, and that it's and then we're at the kind of the edge of being able to open it up in significant new ways.
Yeah, we want to get it into, we need to create like an educational center, but the whole idea is as children come into this world, they need to be properly instructed and taught in these abilities and stuff so that they grow up and their brains wire up. It's critical for them to start as children manipulating and playing with the energy in a manner to allow it to design their brains like mine was designed. Now, I didn't have any teachers. I was just mischievous, running wild. Dr. Levengood called me a freak of nature, and I just created myself, you know. But I can help set up a teaching program to instruct kids, and all they got to do is just feel this energy 2 or 3 times. And I work with a lot of autistic kids, and boy, it's just so neat to watch them come out of the box when you lock into them with this stuff. So they just
Well,
all kind of
we
things.
can we can work in that area up here some that would
Sure.
be really great. So Ed, where can people find out about you?
I just go to my website, eddedwards.com. It's like my name, 2 D's in my first name, and it's spelled out EDDEDWARDS.com. It's kind of just a homemade website, and I just keep putting all my different research up there. And then at the top of my webpage, since people were having a hard time finding it, that's where they can register to do my weekly Zoom rooms that I do the energy. It's you do the healing. I just turn the power on, and I get a lot of people, and they're back and forth in there. And so they can just find out about me through my webpage and the research I've been on, the radio shows, the Ancient Aliens TV shows, the Art Bell Coast to Coast Radio, and those things with George Norrie, and just all kind of different fun things. So I just, as I do
Yeah.
lab stuff, I put videos on there. And through there, you can find my YouTube channel, and I've got just a whole bunch of just homemade but out of the lab type videos
Yeah.
and stuff.
So your healing sessions, how much do those cost?
I just do them by donations.
Ah,
Like that, grandma did them, and she did them in the studios. And then week later, the people she worked on, they'd come in with bushels of corn and beans and all kinds of things and stuff. And then I've just been by donation, and I've got a lot of repeat customers, and just it's got a suggestive donation of about $60. But I go anywhere, and then I get donations way on up yonder. I get them way on down yonder. I get them that can't afford
yeah,
anything, but I try to aim them to the my Zoom group
yeah.
rooms. If they can't afford it, I'll give
That
them a coupon.
that's very kind and generous of you. Yeah. Well,
Mm,
it's been wonderful to chat with you, and we're very much looking forward to having you with
yeah.
us, not only to be living around here and being a part of our community, but on the 14th of October, you're going to be here at Transition Talks at our speaker series. And that's a Saturday, and it'll last all day long. It'll be a wonderful day with
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of hands-on kinds of experiences and other such things. Uh, and for those folks who can't make it to our town, which, by the way, is just 100 miles from Washington and Baltimore, here in a little resort town in the Appalachian Mountains. Uh, but if you can't make it, you can check in on the live stream. And the live stream, we make the live stream available to anybody for about 6 months. If you
Mm-hmm.
watch it once, if you come in and check in, or you are in person here at Berkeley Springs, you can access the live stream. So you can have Edd Edwards every day for six
Yeah.
months, and
And
and do
the energy I do will record into those live streams, so it'll be just like it was done in live. If you just take part, like I
yeah.
say, in them, it'll light you up, push you around, and make you feel better.
Well, that's really great. I've read a lot of books and read a lot of things where people said, "Oh, there's these special energies and this special stuff that is uh, programmed into the words of this book." And tell you the truth, Ed, they don't seem to affect me very much. But in this particular case, there is going to be no doubt whether it works
Oh
or
yeah.
not. And yeah, and that's what really makes a difference about what you're doing and what you can do. You know how it is emblematic of this kind of emergent new world and these extraordinary new
Mm-hmm.
capabilities that we can certainly start to become begin to access, particularly with kids, as you suggest. But there's a whole new generation you could get going that would just see the world in a
Yes.
whole different kind of way.
Oh yeah. We're going to be the starters of that.
Yeah, well, that's really great. Well,
Mm-hmm.
thanks again, and thanks then for our viewers. Thanks for being with us. It's always fun to have these conversations with wonderful people like Ed. That's EDD Ed, by the way. He
Yeah.
said that, but let me just reinforce that so that you find him. EDD and then Edwards. And You can find out all kinds of other things that we do at the Arlington Institute. Get our free newsletter, and some more of these kind of interviews, and some of my podcasts about some of the big ideas and things. We also do a program called Quartet every 2 weeks with Greg Braden and Penny Kelly, and Kingsley Dennis, where we spend an hour and a quarter deep in doing a very deep dive and kind of an intellectual approach to some major issue that's related to the future. And then we've got What's Up, which is Greg Braden and I just spend a half an hour every 2 weeks just talking about whatever comes to our minds. And a lot of interesting things come to our minds. And so there's a lot that we're trying to do here at the Arlington Institute, and we hope you'll look it up. You can find out information at arlingtoninstitute.org. And we hope that you'll, if you find this helpful, that you'll pass it along and share it with your friends and encourage them to check out what we're doing. So thank you, Edd Edwards. I appreciate it very much. Looking forward to having you with us on the 14th of October. And take care, my friend.
Will do. Y'all too. We'll see you soon.